Hello everyone, I said in my last New World video that I might do this one. I wasn't sure, but I'm going to. So this is going to be the comparison of the three different graphics mode. Now I should state that I have left it on uncapped FPS for each of them. So we'll start with the 4K mode, and I mean, we haven't got anything to compare it to yet, but the visuals are pretty decent. The frame rate is not bad. There's no real judder or stutter as you turn the camera. It's not as smooth as some other games, obviously. Those that are running at 120 frames per second, for instance. Definitely not as smooth as those, but there's no real glaringly obvious stutter or lag when you turn the camera. If you turn it really quickly, obviously things become a little bit different, but that's to be expected in games like this. But when we kind of look at the ground, we've got quite a nice level of detail. The foliage, when you get close enough, looks relatively nice as well. The creatures themselves, you can't see individual fur details, but you can see changes in fur colour, for example, and you can see a few tufts of fur sticking up when you rotate the camera. Overall, it's a relatively nice experience. As I say, it's not going to be as good as games like Horizon Forbidden West, for example, but this is a massive multiplayer online game. There's lots of other people around, and as such, bandwidth and the amount of information it has to basically communicate between server and your console is a lot more. So you need to limit something, and graphics are usually the things which do suffer. But I can honestly say it's still relatively pleasing, and I would be quite happy to spend many hours in this game. Now, I did switch to quality mode at this point, and this is quality mode. Now, initially, I couldn't tell any difference whatsoever. But what you will find is that the differences between the different modes don't actually affect close-up. So you might get a slight bit more detail in the close-up textures on 4K, but not to the degree that you are going to notice. What I have identified, and only after I played all three modes, was that it's actually the draw distance and the background which changes between the modes. So if you want high FPS, and I do have to caveat that because, to be honest, I couldn't tell the difference between the different FPS values between performance and 4K mode. So if there is a difference, it's possibly in really congested and detailed areas, but just for general gameplay I couldn't really tell a difference. But obviously leave me a comment down below if between these three different videos you can see the difference. So as I say, this is quality mode, and this is in the uncapped FPS mode as well, so I've not capped it at 60 or 30. It should be flowing as well as it can. Now you can probably see in the background that as I got further down this hill, the fog popped in. That, I believe, is where the difference between your 4K, your quality, and your performance modes are. Now that's not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I personally like having the backdrop, and the fact that I couldn't tell the difference between all of the graphics modes for the frame rate, I am going to stick to the 4K initially. But before we go and make that decision, let's have a look at the quality mode at night. And the reason I've done this is because, as I said at the beginning, these are basically being played all in succession. So I get to a certain place in the gameplay and then I swap modes. Unfortunately, when I swapped modes to performance mode, I was at night on quality, so I have had to skip to that night mode so we can have some form of comparison between quality and the performance mode. Now we've already had that comparison between 4K and quality mode, so hopefully when we do the other jump to performance, we can have that same sort of comparison. As I say, between quality in 4K, there wasn't that much of a leap, so I don't feel the need to do a comparison between 4K and performance. But let's now jump to the actual performance mode. And hopefully you will notice that the background is very, very dark in comparison. So the lighting effects in the background are much reduced in performance mode. But realistically, that seems to be the only difference. There doesn't appear to be any difference, real difference in texture of the close-up environment, as I mentioned before. The sea itself doesn't appear to be overly reduced in texture or quality, and yeah, I honestly do think it is literally the backgrounds. Now, you will notice that while I'm kind of running, that everything seems to be very smooth, the way it has been throughout the entirety of the gameplay. This is why I mention that I don't believe that the FPS cap is actually really any different. I don't really see a noticeable difference when I'm turning the camera. Possibly a little bit, but not anything that I'm going to really notice. And it's going to be a toss-up between whether you want that draw distance or whether you want that slight smoother experience on the camera rotation. As for running, as for fighting, they all have the same frame experience, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, I am 46 years of age now. I know that's old, but I'm probably not the best judge of, you know, absolute minute changes in frame rates, so you will have to make your own decision based on the gameplay on screen. That's kind of why I wanted to do this, because I think frame perception is very different depending on who you speak to. I know people who say they can tell the difference between 30 and 60 immediately, and 30 makes them feel sick. I have other people that I know who look at 30 and 60 and can't really tell any difference. And yes, they are being genuine. I personally can tell the difference between 30 and 60, but I don't think 30 makes me feel sick. I've been playing on console for so long that 30 is basic. It's what it's always been on console. And whenever you watch television programs, they're actually running at 24 frames per second. So if games make you feel sick at anything less than 60, I really do feel sorry for you when you're watching TV or a movie, because, like I say, they're actually at 24 frames per second. That being said, I personally don't notice any difference between any of these different modes, so I am going to carry on playing on the 4K mode. I think that's definitely the best for the draw distances and everything else. So, what do you think? That is the question. I would love it if everyone could leave their comment down below as to what mode they think looks best, what mode they will be using when you get the game. And I would be really, really appreciative if you could, as I always ask, make sure you do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please make sure you click that notification bell. When you do, it will most likely select selective or personalized. Please change that to all notifications, because if you don't, you won't get told when my videos upload, which is wholly annoying, but there we go. So yeah, please do make sure that you do click that bell. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, leaving me a comment with your opinion on which is the best mode would be great. Your opinion on the beta if you've played it, or indeed your opinion on my videos and any additional games you would like me to cover in the future. All of that information is really, really useful, so please do let me know. That's going to be it for this video. I thought I'd leave you with a bit of an extended performance mode gameplay. So I am going to go, and I hope to see you for my next video very soon. You all take care. Bye for now.